It is Chicken Dinner 014, the 14th time we've talked live with you on a Thursday night. And what a night it is as we round into form week 16 in the NFL. Time flies when you're having fun, or maybe not when you're having fun. If you're a dog better this year. And we do have another one tonight where we're seeing money on the favorite, Denver at the LA Chargers. What's the over-under on how many hours I will be on the road this weekend? Boston to Buffalo to Chicago. I'm hoping no snow, no blizzard, but the drive back for the holidays tomorrow, leaving at noon, stopping in Buffalo to watch Notre Dame, hopefully win against Indiana. I don't care if they cover, but a win would be nice for our futures. And then finishing the drive on Saturday. 15 and a half. I feel like that's a good number. I'm hoping for under. Maybe hit some 80-mile-an-hour pockets, and we shall see. I did move to Boston in a blizzard, which was just horrible. But that's a different story for a different day. College football playoff will start tomorrow. Notre Dame, Indiana, and then the trifecta on Saturday. What a day for football this Saturday. And I'm going to pull up the odds logic screen now if you're watching live on YouTube and X. You have so much football, and it's both the NFL and college. So Houston, Kansas City at 1 Eastern, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, 4:30, and then the three college football playoff games, SMU, Penn State at 12, Clemson, Texas at 4, Tennessee, Ohio State at 8. And if that wasn't enough, you also have the FCS playoffs, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and South Dakota, Montana State. Let's go. Lock in. This is maybe the best football Saturday of the entire season. And I will have some bets. We'll talk about them later in the show. We will also have my Fox Sports teammates, Chris Fallica, Will Hill, and Geoff Schwartz on the show coming up in about 10 minutes. I know they all have bets for the playoff. A lot of us like different things, too. So you're not going to hear us all say, bang, 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 bang. We all like this or we all like that. A lot of varied opinions on these four college football games. And as I told you all, I believe last week, Notre Dame was my bet at 10-1 to win the playoff. I fully expect them to lose to Indiana now. But I saw the bracket come out and just had a feeling that they would be a pretty decent favorite against Indiana, and they are, 7.5, give or take. And then probably be favored against Georgia, per my numbers. Now, I don't know that I would love laying 2 on an island. Like if I had Notre Dame, Georgia, and it's 2, I don't know that I would love laying 2, but I do like their chances against a backup quarterback. So that party gets started tomorrow night. And I was talking with John Murray from the Westgate. He said they need Notre Dame. The book needs Notre Dame. A lot of bets, not only on Indiana to cover, but Indiana money line tomorrow. That's right. People running to the window to bet Indiana. I love hearing that as somebody holding a Notre Dame ticket. We got Brewhand Luke in the chat, per usual, saying what's up. We got Rob Bach plus the Bear Bets pod, and I'm having a weather report here from Dan. Low to mid-20s, lake effect snow, supposed to stay away from South Bend, but it's possible we do get a snow playoff game. Do it, Mother Nature. I want an Irish win in the snow. Hell yeah, brother. As long as they win and move on, face Georgia, I will be content. Just get me through those first 2 games, and then I feel like I could free roll from there. We shall see. Does anybody have the balls to bet the Bears? God, this is a spot I would play 9 times out of 10. But this NFL season has been so bad for this spot. Spots like this, I guess I should say. 107, 108, Chicago at home against Detroit. Look ahead number 7.5. And then when they reopened it in Vegas at the Superbook on Sunday, they opened it 7. And that 7 didn't last too long. It was 6.5 by Monday. And it's still hanging just shy of that big fat 7. They're daring you to come in. All you got to do is bet the Lions. All they got to do is win by a touchdown. Historically, Jared Goff bad in the cold. That's not really a trend. It's more of a pattern. We've chronicled this for years, a lot of us on these betting shows. He doesn't have it outside. Some people want to blame the hand. Some want to blame his whatever. I look at the numbers. And they also, remember, this Detroit team lost to a Bears team last year at Soldier Field. Not that what happened last year means it'll happen this year. My big concern is that Chicago's defense is just so ignored right now They do fire Eberflus, which was the right move, but their defense has been pathetic in the last couple of games. On the other side, Detroit just crushed by injuries right now. Joe O brought this up on the morning show on BetQL Daily. 22 guys on injured reserve for Detroit. David Montgomery not going to play. Ragnow, I saw, is on the injured list. Brian Branch limited at practice this week. We know they have just so many issues. And Dan Campbell is gambling more than ever because he doesn't trust his defense. It's also a tough spot for Detroit. Aside from going outside, and this has been a team, I believe Detroit has only played one outdoor game this year, which is wild when you really think about it. They haven't certainly been outside in a game like this where it's going to be in the high 20s, low 30s. So they went to Arizona. That's a dome. Dallas, a dome. Minnesota, a dome. They did play in Green Bay, at Houston, dome, at Colts, dome. They played all games but one indoors. That's something to think about. I'll probably end up on Chicago. I would love 7. I just don't know if this goes to 7 next or goes to 6 next. Because these 6.5s, if you look at DraftKings and FanDuel and even at Chris, a little juicy. Some places minus 108, like the Superbook. But I wonder, does this go to 6 next or 7 next? I'm not quite sure. But I would like a 7 in that game. I would also, boys and girls, I would love a 7 in Ohio State and Tennessee. Oh, would I love a 7. I mean, I'm looking at the board right now. These are 7.5s painted all across the world, 7.5. That's pretty telling, too. For all this talk, because Tennessee is a very, very popular team. People are betting Tennessee, a lot like Indiana, on the spread with the money line. Murray also said Tennessee, the most popular money line dog. I don't know. Ohio State going to get a lot of action, I think, if this goes down to 7. So it feels like as of now, the books are content leaving this off the 7. I would love for a 7 though. Like I'm not going to lay 7.5. I don't want 28-21, 35-28. I'd hate myself. Give me a 7 there. And then look at this number on Texas Clemson. We're out to 13 at the Superbook on Texas. Wow. Opened 11. No real rush to bet Clemson. And I really like the way Clemson finished the season. I do. I also think Texas's best quarterback is on the sidelines, and that's Arch Manning. But that's a different conversation maybe when the gambling group chat gets rolling. I did have to share this. I laughed out loud when we saw some of these books open the win totals. White Sox, Major League Baseball, 49.5. Oh, yeah. And as we saw, FanDuel moved to 51.5. Now, you could still go over 49.5 minus 110 at Caesars. Are they going to do it again? Are they going to lose, are they going to win less than 50 again? I don't know, guys. They quit last year in May or June. They had to fire the manager. I know Crochet's gone, but God, that division is not that great. 3 playoff teams, yes, but that is not a dominant top half of the division. I also think you're going to see some of these young studs come up, and that could be pro or con, depending on the player and the prospect. But 49.5 is just a slap in the face. I've never seen, and I confirmed this with a couple guys in Vegas, I've never seen a win total this low. There have been some ones in the mid to high 50s. 49.5 is crazy. Crazy. I got a question from Big Mac. Sam, do you track your personal plays anywhere we could see? I follow the chicken bets, but I would like to tail some of your other action. I don't. Mac, everything I put up on Chicken Dinner, as you know, is documented. The records are at the bottom of every pick. There's just some things that I go rogue on. There are some things that I get from other people that they don't want me to share. You want to send me a DM or something, maybe we can work something out. But no, I do not post everything I play. I'm too busy betting. I don't have time to log into all these different places and track my bets. I track my own bets. I have spreadsheets. I don't need Pickett or BetStamp. I respect people that have them, but I don't have anything that tracks every bet I make, at least publicly. Some people would say that I suck for that, but that's just the way it is. I I got this Travis Hunter money just burning a hole in one of these accounts. And then I'm also trying to collect some of the other Travis Hunter money, which is, when you hit a local for Travis Hunter for a nice chunk, like 5 figures, got to get all that money in. That's when the slow pay begins. We'll get it to you soon enough. I'm like, all right. And I also wrote this story for Fox. I see Geoff Schwartz is here. We're going to wait for the Bear and for Will Hill. Fox wanted to do this a couple weeks ago. If you see on YouTube and X, it's McGregor versus Paul, not Logan Paul, Jake Paul. What would the betting odds be? And if you get a chance, if you're interested, I talked to 12 people out in Vegas, bookmakers and bettors, about what the price would be. I know the report is that McGregor is trying to fight Logan. This fight, though, would shatter viewership records. And handle-wise, this would be insane. We saw how many people watched Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. You throw in the global atmosphere with Conor McGregor and the way people bet McGregor fights, those are some of the most handled fights in the history of the medium. Conor McGregor fights. It'd be huge for boxing. So I talked to a bunch of guys about what the price would be. And if you are interested, you can check that out at foxsports.com. Conor McGregor, Jake Paul, what would the betting odds be? Geoff Schwartz, do you post your wagers for fun? Yes, I definitely do. I'm going to bring in all my friends here. Chris Fallica, Will Hill, Geoff Schwartz, better known as the Gambling Group Chat on Fox Sports. Gentlemen, we talked yesterday. We also talked today. I just missed you all so much that I wanted to talk.
Same here, Sammy.
I know.
It's for dinner. Just to get back to you. I was thinking about you all the dinner and dinner prep.
I ate so much Taco Bell, it makes me uncomfortable for dinner. And I failed to realize that I have a 7-hour drive tomorrow and a 7-hour drive on Saturday. So what could possibly go wrong with Taco Bell in the belly?
Pepto-Bismol is your friend.
I'm not afraid to admit it. I've had quite a few poop attacks while driving. It's not fun. You got to find the nearest gas station, the nearest something else. You just got to make it work, Sammy. You got to always think ahead, right? You have to see that sign that says gas station 1 mile ahead. The stomach starts rumbling. Just pull over and do what you got to do.
Will's just shaking his head in disgust.
Will, by the way, who just got over a vicious battle poisoning. So he's got the most recent experience with this.
Not fun. It's amazing the things you take for granted, just like not feeling like shit or not wanting to die for 24 hours. It's a great feeling to have an appetite back.
The responses I get from our segment, I mean, people obviously listen to the Bear Bets pod. They listen to Chris and Geoff, yuck it up. And then Will and I come on for what has turned into now like a 40 or 45-minute segment, mostly talking shit, calling me a nerd for the most part. That's kind of the way it goes. But Bear, somebody had asked me in the DM, how did the process come about? And how did you figure out that you wanted to do a group chat on your show?
I wanted to figure out a way to get more voices involved. Like in our initial conversations when we were first figuring out the pod, because everybody was so familiar with Stanford Steve and the Bear, and it was like, okay, I left and it was just kind of me, and they were like, yeah, well, it's your pod and we love you. I'm like, I go, yeah, but I play better with friends and people I know and associate with and can go back and forth and bust chops. I'm like, I would like to do it that way. So then we just kind of figured out a way to just do like an opening segment with just me to kind of kick around stuff with one other co-host. And I'm like, let's get more people involved. And one of the other producers there that love the idea. Like, I'm like, yeah, all these people that I text are like, he's like, yeah, that would be great if we can call like the Gambling Group Chat and get some of these text messages, like not on air, but like the stuff you would talk about and mention in the chat. So I just said, hey, look, I just want to get more people involved. I don't want it to be about me. It's better when there are other voices involved. So yeah, it was just as simple as that.
And we couldn't be any different, the four of us, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a nice variety. By the way, Sammy, don't you get tired of talking? Like you got your BetQL show, then you have the Bear Bets podcast. Now you have this, and you just talk like even when the camera's off, you're just talking about sports and betting. Do you need a break?
Yeah, I do need a break, actually. That's why I'm getting off at 8:05. I set a hard out at 8:05. I do get tired of hearing myself talk, yes.
So also, where are you driving? Where's your 14-hour drive round trip? Like, what's the 7-hour back and forth?
So Chicago's 15, but we cut it up in half. Buffalo's the halfway point. So I'm driving tomorrow the full 7, and then we're going to go watch Notre Dame in Indiana at a Buffalo bar pound some wings, drink some Jameson, ideally, and hopefully Notre Dame gets me into the next round against Georgia. But it's a ride that I've made, 7 or 8 times now, back and forth around Christmas, because you get to Chicago, then you need a car. Like, what am I going to rent a car for $100 a day for 2 weeks? No.
Your stomach's going to be doing great between the Taco Bell, the Jameson, and the wings, man. That's just,
I'll tell you what.
That's a 3-team parlay that's going to win.
I went to that Chiefs-Bills playoff game in January, and I went to Bar Bill, and that's what it was. And these were the best wings of my life. The wings, I cannot say enough how good the wings are in Buffalo, by the way.
Oh, there's so many spots, too.
Like,
I try and hit
so
a different one every time. I mean, there's countless spots.
Chris Jones was there before the game eating wings, too, which was fantastic. It's a very vet thing. Like, we used to go out and eat before games, like night before games. They give us 3-4 hours off, and we all go out to eat. Like, that was when I counted the NFL in 2008. We all went out to eat together as offensive line. And the young players don't do that anymore. They stay in the hotel. Their nutrition is like always on point. They have their people that make them food. And so like Jones is one of those old guys. He's drafted in 2014. He's like it's like one of the only few players I would imagine that still goes out. My brother didn't go out. He was like too anxious about getting back on time. So I mean, I ate in every city, no surprise that I went to. But Buffalo, all those wings are so good, man.
Who picks up the tab? Delicious. Is that one guy picks up the tab, or is that split? Like,
we do a couple of things. One, we do like the oldest guy would pick it up, right? Because typically that player made a lot of money, or credit card roulette, which can get quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple $1,000s on the credit card roulette. It all depends. The thing about the meals, I think people don't understand where the price comes from. And this is not for Saturday night before a game. It's the alcohol. Like these rookie dinners, it's not the food. You can only eat so much food.
Right.
Like, you don't eat so much steak and lobster. It's the alcohol. It's guys buying bottles of Louis XIII and Ace of Spades and stuff, which you don't have the night before a game. At least I didn't. I don't know if my teammates, I won't speak for them, whether they had that. I think some coaches had a couple cocktails before a game. But I mean, Bear knows he's been in these big dinners. Yeah. It's the alcohol that gets you. You can only eat so much food, guys. I mean, Sammy can take down a lot of Taco Bell, I guess, but after you have 24 ounces of steak, there's not much room left to have much more.
No, yeah, the bottles of wine that would get ordered at dinner, and just like, wow, this is ridiculous. But it's funny, credit card roulette. Will, who was it? Crack who was talking about like someone with
player's
credit card
card
roulette? With like a hotel key
Yes. I forget the story, but there was a hack to credit card roulette where you either had what was it, the hotel key or the heaviest credit card? What, you know the story better than me, Sammy.
Yeah.
I thought it was a player's card or a hotel card because they're less likely to pick it, which if you really think about it, it's a fucking scumbag move to not put a credit card in.
It's a huge
we typically did last one surviving. Like they pull the card out and the last one in there would have to pay. So I think that got rid of some of those like shenanigans. So if you put a player's card in there, if he gets picked first, like I guess you're safe. But we waited to the very end.
So Sammy, so what's the drive? Do you cut across? You go Buffalo across Canada, or do you cut down and go like Cleveland across Indiana Tollway and such?
We've done them all, including the one that goes you a little bit further south, like through Pittsburgh. It adds on a couple hours, but usually it's just through Mass, through the state of New York, hit Buffalo, then you go through Cleveland, and then the most boring ride through rural Ohio and Indiana. Nothing quite like Indiana and Ohio in the middle of December when the windows are frozen and the snow's coming down, and then you turn on the radio and it's like, oh, blizzard warning. And you're like, perfect. This is exactly what I needed on my way to Chicago. I actually moved in a blizzard. I said that earlier. We moved to Boston with a U-Haul in a blizzard going through New York, like driving around the hills, and not ideal. But anywho, that's a different story for a different day. My favorite part of our group thread off the air is the fade plays. Do we have a fade play tonight? I didn't check.
Yes. It's Devon Vele under 33.5 receiving yards is one of them. And then the other one I think I saw was like a Bo Nix under 36.5 yards or something like that. There's also a lot of people I follow that I fade are on the under tonight. There's quite a few under plays as well. I can't get there with the over, guys.
Yeah, I like the under too.
I know. So I just stayed away. I didn't fade that one. I can't see this game going over 41, right? I mean,
you could always see it, but I'm like enough to bet it. No.
That would like a non-offensive touchdown. I wouldn't think.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm on. Just
I might have played Valet under 33.5 myself. I might have hopped
I
in
don't
on
even
that.
know. Like, I don't even know who these guys are that the influencers play. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess that's a player tonight. Did you guys?
He's like
that,
the Broncos' third wide receiver, I think.
Oh, good for him. Did you guys peep this? Bartender comes out Chargers tonight, minus
Oh,
2.5.
no, no.
Oh,
Wait. Okay, well now I have the Broncos plus 2.5. Okay, well, never. I guess I have a play now.
He's hot this year. He's
1-2 last
destroying
week.
it.
Right, 1-2 last week.
Yeah, he did have a losing week, 27-20. Here was the text I got. There's no way Bo Nix beats Harbaugh. So it's that simple.
That's it. It comes down to that.
I'm seeing here. There's I don't know. Let's see. They don't offer this one I'm using, but yeah, plus 2.5, plus 105. Wow,
that's a good price, man. You rarely get plus 105 on some of these sites. I did see that Circa moved to 3, and then Chris Andrews at South Point is at 3. Buckeyes at 3. So these 2.5s are getting expensive. I'm looking at some 2.5 minus 123, 125.
Yeah.
Bartender influencing people.
I honestly. Well. Andrews will text me too, and he goes, "The bartender did it again." You know, like people actually are amazed by the turnaround, which it's got to come crashing down eventually. I can't wait for it.
There's no chance he's coming in on any of these college football playoff games, are there? Like
no
Notre Dame, like being a Chicago guy.
No, he's not. Actually, it's funny you bring that up. I had Murray on today, and he said they need Notre Dame in the game, which I was sort of
I like Notre Dame
surprised by. Yeah, he's like, we need Notre Dame not only to win, but we need them to cover. Like they're writing a lot of bets on Indiana. It's Indiana and Tennessee. Those are the two that they need to not cover. As of now, I mean, things could change. We're only doing this on a Thursday. Right. You'll see more bets come in tomorrow and of course on Saturday, but he said that's their biggest need right now. Notre Dame to win by more than 7. So let's go around the horn. Will, favorite college football playoff bet. What is it?
Ooh, I'm going to go with under Indiana, Notre Dame. I think we're up to 52. I don't know if you can get 52.5 anywhere.
Yeah, I just think at MGM 52.5 and FanDuel.
There you go. I just think Indiana's run defense is for real. Under 70 something yards per game allowed, under 3 yards per carry. I don't know, like when they played Michigan, when they played Ohio State, they had a really hard time sustaining offense. So to me, this is more like a 23-20 type of game. I think it'll be close. I would take the points with, I worry about being on the quote unquote public side too, but I think it's a little bit of an under. Some of these books, and I don't know, Bear, we don't have a lot of these books, and none of our Connecticut ones offer them, but I know our buddy Fez gives us out a lot. Will there be a score in the first 5 minutes? I like the nose in those sometimes where, hey, even the team can score on the first drive and it could be longer than a 5-minute drive. All you need is a couple first downs, the drive fizzles out, a punt, and you look up and 5 minutes is off the clock. So I guess BetMGM, I guess Caesars offers those. That would be a fun one to have. I do like the under in this in Notre Dame, Indiana, though.
Bear?
I like Ohio State. We're not going to get it. We're not going to get a 7. I don't think. I think the fact that all this Tennessee money has come in and it's still at 7.5. Like we're not getting 7. It would have moved, I think, already by now. It tells me that the director and all these other books are pretty comfortable with the Tennessee exposure. I think there's a little bit of an overreaction to the Ohio State-Michigan game with everybody jumping ship now with Ohio State. They've had now, 3 weeks off since then to kind of get past that and move on and realize getting Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith the ball is the best way to attack this Tennessee defense, which has traveled well. But at the same time, that Tennessee offense has not played well in their road games. You look at the Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Georgia games. They averaged 18 points a game, 330 yards, and really didn't do a whole lot. Very conservative. That's not going to work because since the Oregon loss, the Ohio State defense has played very well. They certainly were not the reason that the Buckeyes lost to that game is a massive favorite to Michigan. So I like Ohio State minus the 7.5 in this game. I like being on the side that the books need. Look, this isn't a root for the book, and that's the reason why I'm playing the game. I think of all the teams in this field, Ohio State is still the team that I would pick to beat any of them. I know they have their offensive line problems, but I think defense complete, skill players complete. It's basically just, does Will Howard screw it up? If Will Howard doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be hard to beat. And I think they can win 4 games to win the national title.
Big fella.
Or Chip Kelly just calls a passing game plan. I mean, like Ohio State's that team where I would surprise you if you looked up and it was 38-17 win against Tennessee. No, it wouldn't surprise you at all. All right, I'm going to go a prop here that I like for tomorrow night. I like Riley Leonard over 52 rushing yards for a couple of reasons. One is we talk about Indiana's run defense, and it's been very good this season. They haven't played a quarterback like him all year who can run the football. I think Notre Dame has to incorporate that in part of the rushing attack. So I think they'll incorporate that. In fact, early in that game, and when oftentimes when a defense hasn't seen that quarterback, early in games, a lot of yards happen, right? And then secondly, Indiana puts a ton of zone. And I think that Notre Dame might have trouble throwing the football in 3rd and longs, 3rd and mediums, and Riley Leonard's have to run the football to gain yards in those situations. Of course, quarterback sacks do hurt the rushing numbers. I just don't see Indiana sacking Leonard all that often as well, right? So I don't see that like negating some of those rushing yards. So I got Leonard over 52 rushing yards here. It was Mike minus 115 today. I think you get a 52.5 somewhere for an over under. DK didn't have those two-way markets when I checked earlier today.
Man, I'm with you, Bear. I said this at the beginning. I would love a 7. I don't think we get there. I mean, you look at where this thing is moving. It's, with all that Tennessee money, you would think that they would be like, all right, let's get this down to 7, but they seem pretty content there. Another thing worth pointing out, and I think we talked about this on our college football show, Nico against these good defense was not that good this year. Like 20 of 33 against Georgia, 14 of 27 against Bama, 16 of 26 against Florida, against Arkansas, 17 of 29. Like he's pretty erratic against a lot of these good defenses. And Ohio State's issue isn't defense. It's offense, right? It's the offensive line. Jeff, you think they could shore that up with all this extra time to prepare on the O-line?
I think it's again, it's sort of game plan specific, right? Like you can design things early in games that really help the offensive line. But then what happens again, we get like in the 2-minute drill, when you get into 3rd and long, when you get into the second part of the game plan, when you don't have things scripted up. And I think that staying on schedule is always important, right? And so, but look, I think the offensive line is good enough just to block it up and throw it to your best wide receivers. I just didn't get the Michigan game plan, guys. I just didn't get it. It didn't make sense to me. I get that you're worried about, but Michigan's also, their pass rushers are inside too. You can double those guys. You can play action pass and kind of double Graham and move a guy out and create these eye violations for linebackers. I just didn't get it. So if they decide to block him up and just say Smith and Ibuka, and I like Bears play of the touchdown for Jeremiah Smith, right? Like that, that to me feels like, again, I don't know if they're going to target him per se, but if they come out in this game and they tried the Michigan game plan of we're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, fire everyone. Like I think like you just can't do that, right? I mean, it did not work. It's not going to work in this game. So I think it's one of those live wager situations where like if I see Ohio State throwing the ball early in this game, I might jump on them, try to find the best number I can live. I don't know what that might be. I don't want to obviously get a over 10 or something like that, but I just want to see the game plan. If they decide to do what they should do, I think they win this game and cover, and it might not be close.
I don't want one last thing about Ohio State's defense. They're getting a bit of a pass, and I don't think they deserve one against that Michigan, that game where 2 long drives in the fourth quarter Michigan had. Ohio State could not get off the field, and I feel like that's gone a little bit forgotten. Not by Bear. Bear remembers it.
I heard this on I won't say, I forget what podcast it was on, but the idea like Ohio State's defense doesn't often get stops when they should. Like that's sort of, they couldn't get stopped against Oregon. To your point, I mean, if Jack Sawyer doesn't intercept that football and the bad throw by Warren, that's another drive where they just got bowled over at the end. Right. I mean, Sawyer made that great play, and I do wonder about that. But Nico, I don't know, Bear. I just don't. I don't have faith he's going to go into the shoe and make a bunch of plays.
Yeah, I don't either. It's funny. We don't want to. We talk about the weather and how it could or could not be a factor. And look, I know it snowed and it was cold in Knoxville, but I can remember last month or whatever it was 6 weeks ago when Tennessee went to Athens and it was like a 35, 40 degree night. I think it was like 40. And I remember and watching the game, and Laura Rutledge was joking on the sideline about how the Tennessee players were cold. They're throwing on parkas and sitting on heated benches to get them fired up to warm up. I'm like, if they think 40 in Athens is cold, wait till they get on a Saturday night in Columbus where it's 26, 30 and with a wind chill. So like, I don't know if that is going to affect them or not. And I know, Geoff, you've pointed out like people, like the weather does matter.
It matters only, again, cold and wind. I'm not so worried always about rain or snow, but the fact is we have never seen this college football before. We've never had games this late in the calendar year that are played at home. The games end right at Thanksgiving. It used to be Thanksgiving weekend. Now it's one weekend later. Right. And again, when you have a bad weather game, it's Iowa playing Nebraska, right? It's Oregon playing Washington. So it's teams in the same region. Right. And we don't have that. We have SMU. I know, I get it. Dallas gets cold sometimes, but it's cold because it's also 100 in the summer. And you're going to, it's 20 degrees at kickoff in state college. Like, it's a different environment. So should it make your whole handicap? No. If it's a Dolphins we're wagering against, yes. But we don't have a lot in college football right now to give us an idea of whether or not these are fades. But I think it does matter. And where it matters, I don't want to get too long here, Sammy, but like I think where it matters, it's important.
Miami Hurricanes not in the playoff, Geoff.
Yes, they're not. It matters when you're warming up the most. It's like it's a mental part of getting ready to play. When you're actually playing, it's not that bad, but everything pregame is different. You're worried about the cold, you're dressing differently, you're preparing different. It takes you longer to get loose. I remember cold games I played in, like being out there, like I can't get warmed up. So all those things, it's not really the gameplay per se, it's everything else.
I wish the quarters, by the way. I wish home field we'd have the campus sites into the next round too, not just this round. Yeah.
So do I.
I wish Big Noon Kickoff went to one of these games too. That would be nice
too. That would be what would be better than Big Noon right before the first Big Ten team hosts a college football playoff game. That SMU at Penn State game at noon.
I thought you go back to Columbus.
Indiana's going to be in Columbus this year. Game day be in South Bend on Friday. Would be great to do a game from Penn State before their whiteout, which allegedly they can't do a whiteout at noon. But yet they're doing a whiteout at noon for a playoff game. But
who are you kidding? They'd send you guys to Boulder again. There wouldn't even be a game there. You guys would just be in Boulder.
The low Heisman celebration in Boulder. Let's go cover that.
Columbus temperature. The low on Saturday is a balmy 15 degrees for that Tennessee offense. So something to think about.
That's at night, like during game time hours.
Yeah, that's the low. The high 28, the low 15. Oof. Not great. Patrick Everson, friend of the show, saying, good evening, gentlemen. And here you go, Geoff, fellow Ducks fan. Brewhand Luke. Sco Ducks. How you feeling about that bracket on top, huh?
I have determined that it does not matter. We'll take any team we can, and they have an extra game to beat each other up, and we don't. And that's, I think, an important part of this that I think people have forgotten. And it's so funny in the NFL, we talk all the time about how important the bye is. And you do anything possible for the bye, right? The bye. And then in college football, for some reason, it's like, oh, the bye hurts Oregon. I don't think it does. I think taking a weekend off from playing football is important, and we'll take whoever it is in the Rose Bowl.
I think part of it in the NFL, the bye comes with home games too, which is a key.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, if this game was in Eugene January 1st, it would be so much fun. Yeah.
So we've talked about, I believe, 3 of the 4 games, and the one that doesn't really get a lot of love, I guess, is the term SMU Penn State. Guys, I didn't make a bet. I don't think I will make a bet. I'll watch it because I want to see what Penn State does against an inferior opponent in a college football playoff game. I don't think I have a single edge side or total in that game, and I don't usually feel that way about a playoff game. I'm not interested at all in betting that one. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that one.
I want 9. If I can get a 9.
There's 9s. There was 9s today.
Yeah. Were there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Why do you say that though? Why the 9 though? Because the 9 is usually not something you think of as a key number.
Yeah, you don't. But I mean, I who the hell knows what could wind up happening?
Well, being hooked is miserable. Like you also try to get the. Here's my thing on this. I did some research, Bear, on the James Franklin number we talked about. I saw one of your tweets to start the season. I kind of looked at the numbers. Gotcha. So James Franklin between 7 and 24 points is a favorite. 18-1-1 against the spread. Like these are games that Penn State just always sort of wins. He can't beat a top 5 team. And I would argue the Big Ten championship wasn't his fault. Like it wasn't a James Franklin issue.
No. I just couldn't get a stop.
They couldn't get a stop. And one thing about this game too, that I think is important, we don't talk about this often. SMU is 131st in the country in penalty yards per game. That's a big red flag of this game, right? Like you're going on the road, you're playing in cold weather against a team that's more physical than you and has better football players. You add in a penalty, a holding penalty that takes away a first down. You add in a personal foul. You add in a pass interference, and now drives that you had momentum are now crushed. And penalties. I don't know the numbers, but every offensive penalty you get really hampers the end result for a touchdown. So I think that's a part of this game that's being overlooked, and it's why I like Penn State to cover.
And then Bear, I think you and I are heads up. I talked about this earlier. I'm waiting this out on Clemson. There's a 13 in the market right now.
Wow.
I don't know how high it gets. I didn't expect 13. And now we're seeing the 12 and a halfs get expensive. So
what do you make this, Sammy, this game?
I think I'm 11.
Okay.
I think I'm 11. So, 14 would be the nuts, but I don't envision that happening. We talked about this on the show on Wednesday. Sark in these big games, especially late in season, has been awful. Not a big sample size. And Bear, you said that he did beat Alabama last year. And then I said, yeah, in September. They were 5. They were 5 on Washington, right, in the Sugar Bowl last year and lost.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like we talk about Ryan Day and Franklin and Freeman a lot, and I think Sark kind of gets a pass. I could be wrong. Texas could win by 3 touchdowns.
Sammy. That's why they dubbed him 7-win Sark.
Yeah.
The only counter I'll make to some of these numbers, guys, I think it's just hard. It's also hard to win big games. And we go through a list of these coaches, and like Dan Lanning wasn't, he was his whole thing. The haters were like, well, he hasn't won a big game yet. I mean, it's hard. How many coaches are really? We have Kirby, right? Dabo, Harbaugh's out.
Saban.
Saban's out. Yeah.
Who is like
Urban?
They're all out. They've all won their championship. So who are these coaches that are big? I think Lanning's up there, but he hasn't won a championship. So
I know it's Brian Kelly.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, there's the name you were
Lincoln Riley, right?
They got what a dumpster fire there. So to be fair, I think sometimes we put too much on can't win the big game, but I agree. To me, it's more about is he going to put Arch Manning in the game?
Well, at this current example though, it's not about winning; it's about winning by margin.
Correct. Yes.
Like for Texas, and I do think Arch is the better quarterback, but Sark has always been. We all know Sark's always been loyal to the older guys. He's a senior type guy. He likes these older quarterbacks, and nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying, hey, put Arch in now. I think they should have went to Arch after the Georgia game, but they didn't, and we'll see what happens. Anything else that we didn't cover on any of these 4 games, guys?
I just don't know how Clemson scores. I get you wanting grabbing 13 and hope for 13 and a half or 14, but I just don't know how they score. They're not going to be able to run the ball at all on Texas, and they're just going to have to rely on Klubnik just dropping back every play and either scrambling, taking off, or throwing the ball up and hoping some of those young receivers make some plays. So, I get it, but 21 points I think is going to be hard to come by for Clemson.
Well,
does it matter?
13's a good number until you're down 21-0, right?
Does it matter that Bond may not play in this game? Does that matter at all to you guys?
A little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We got the old possible game time decision
I know.
from our buddy, the newsbreaker.
Yeah.
Bob Bond is a possible game time decision.
Possible game time decision.
It seems like it's leaning to a no, but yes.
Yeah, I think Banks is a yes and Bond's a no.
So left tackle in and Bond probably out. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
That's a good gig when you could be a newsbreaker in college football and not even have to report, hey, this guy's in or he's out. You just say he might play, he might not, and you just you collect your paycheck every 2 Fridays.
We were so flustered this year, and I think it was at one point in the chat, Bears I don't even care anymore. Cam Rising this year. I don't care anymore. I don't care if he plays. I don't care anymore. It's every week. He might play. He also might not play. You're like, oh, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
I think he's questionable this week. I will say, too, this might most of the audience maybe, I don't know. Well, this will go one ear and out the other, but the money lines on the favorites, if you do like the favorites, now you're talking about laying -260, -270, but with these standalone games, when the public bets, they like to bet the underdog. They like to bet them win straight up. So that depresses the money line for the favorite, and you can get some value. You can get some cheaper numbers. Now, people are going to say, all right, what do I parlay it with? And that's the mentality of, hey, I want to bet $1 to win $1. I understand that. But, Barry, I think you've talked about this before, like the national championship game where people bet the dog, they bet it on the money line, and that gives you value on the favorite.
and that's what wound up happening. And I shared a parlay that I made yesterday with you guys. It was Texas, who I don't think is going to lose, Ohio State, who I like in the game, Syracuse, who's playing a shell of a Washington State team, and Texas A&M, who I don't know what type of two deep USC is going to field, and that came out to plus money.
Yeah, and even those 4 semi games, or not semi games, first round games. Yeah. There's no defense for the books against that 4-teamer. And I'm not ever one to say let's parlay every favorite, but Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, all at home, all by 7 or more. It's like 2-1. And the best part about that, assuming Notre Dame wins and Penn State and Texas win, then you can shoot that 7.5 point middle if you want on Tennessee. I don't know that I would do that, but I mean, these 4 favorites probably all win.
And Bear's obviously, I think, a historian of all this, maybe clearer than my mind is, but I don't think there was one in the 14 playoff. I mean, there wasn't one like major upset, right? In any of the years. I mean, Ohio State is a 4 seed.
Ohio State was a double-digit dog when they happened in 14.
Yeah, but they also had,
and when they beat Oregon too, I think they were a pretty good underdog.
Which I remember, they were like a 6 point dog, and I remember I couldn't believe how big of a dog they were, because I remember we were doing the old Jimmy the Greek to check the advantage, and we're the only position group that we gave Oregon an advantage at was quarterback.
Yeah.
It was Mariota. And I'm like, what are we missing here? And the game really wasn't close.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up again. I think that, to me, that's almost not part of this category, because they had 17 pros on that team. Their left tackle still playing in the NFL. I think that's not the best example to use, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if all 4 of the favorites just won easily this weekend.
It wouldn't surprise me.
That was my luckiest season ever in college, because I bet Ohio State at 25-1 after Braxton Miller got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because somebody told me, wait till you see this JT Barrett. He's better.
What a pass post, by the way. That's a fine.
It is.
It is.
And then Barrett got hurt.
But then he gets hurt, and I'm like, come on. And then they bring in 12 gauge.
Yeah.
And he ran, I forget which linebacker it was.
Me too. I remember where they were the quarterback was bigger than,
he ran him the fuck over in the semi game, and I'm like, oh, we got this guy's even, and he's just throwing balls down the field. That was a fun run. Sorry, Jeff.
We'll get him back this year in the Rose Bowl. It's going to happen.
All right. Let's see. I guess I really only had one other question. What are we doing? When are we all getting together? That's the only thing that hasn't happened yet. Jeff and I have hung out in Vegas before. The 4 of us still have not all been in the same room before, and that needs to happen. I don't know when or where, but it needs to happen.
I mean, a bowl of gumbo in about 6 weeks might do the 4 of us well.
That would be great.
Yeah, we're working on that. Yeah.
Vegas is always fun. I mean, I know I'll be in Vegas in March, the weekend of the conference championship games. I'll be out there for the NHC horse racing contest. So I'll be sending anybody who wants to come out to Vegas for the conference tournaments. That'd be a fun.
Have you guys? I'm sure Sammy has, but Will, and have you guys been in the Westgate during March Madness?
Yes.
It is it gives you a headache. It's the most insane experience I was with Action. I was with Stuckey. Stuckey drank 85 Red Bull vodkas over 4 days. I was the most impressed I've ever been with someone's ability to drink and gamble and talk and be coherent at the same time. That was an intense experience, man. Sitting in that first opening weekend in the sports.
What year was that?
It would have been
17 or 18, right?
Who was the tall the taco whenever Taco Fall was for UCF,
right?
So 2019 maybe.
It was that year, yeah, because I remember
when they almost beat Duke.
Almost beat Duke. We were in the sports book for that game. That was just 4 days in a row of that place was
they should have beaten Duke too.
Yes, you should have. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was the last time I was able to get there for the tournament was the Miami. It was the day where UMBC wound up beating Virginia.
Miami. Wow. So Miami beat Drake the day before on the buzzer beater.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you see? I was there too that day, Bear, when they carried the guy with the dog mask out the Superbook.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that was
What
a
was
hell
it
of a
like
game.
in the
no,
in the
Miami
book
lost
when-
to Loyola.
Miami
on a
lost to
buzzer
Loyola
beater.
at the
That's
it
what
was at the earlier in the day. Yeah.
What was the mood in that sports book when UMBC won that game? How many people had a ticket just for fun on like the 16 seed?
Well, there was a group of guys that like went there or something. I mean, they were the only UMBC fans in the crowd, and I don't know if they went to school there or whatever, but the one guy had. Are they the Terriers? Maybe.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
so.
maybe.
So the guy had like the Philadelphia Eagles dog hat on, and they paraded him around the book, and then they got all their money and they went out the door and they were never seen again.
You know what was anticlimactic is it never happened before, and it's
They
not like
got
there was any
smoked.
drama the last 5 or 10 minutes. They
They
stomped
kicked
them. They
their
absolutely
ass.
destroyed them.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah, and then I can't remember if it was the next day or the previous year. What was the year of the that Michigan the Michigan Houston game, that the crazy ending? I was at the Superbook for that too.
Oh, that was the next day. Jordan Poole hit
Yeah.
the game-winning three at like it was with like I think right at the buzzer.
Wilson,
Yeah,
was
like 3
a
seconds to
CFB
go.
CBB historian over here.
And I remember UMBC being like up 18 or something with maybe 10 minutes to go, and they were like still dogs on the live. I was like, guys, give it up. Virginia's not coming back. Like,
They're already
Virginia
scored
that's
40
the
points?
team for Virginia.
They scored for like 40 points or something
Yeah,
in
it
that
was
game.
crazy.
It's
Oh,
insane.
it was awesome. It was so good.
This chat is like that meme where the girl's like, I bet he's thinking about other girls, and he's thinking about 2019 Michigan Houston. Right? Like,
Bro,
that's all he's thinking about.
I tell my wife all the time, like, babe, I'm just texting. She's like, why are you on your phone so much? I go, gambling. I'm just gambling. That's it. That's all I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
Just gambling.
Look at Everson. Yes, the dog mask guy. I was in the Superbook, still have phone video of the place exploding when Loyola hit the buzzer beater to beat Miami.
Yeah, went on to the Final Four.
Dante Ingram, I believe, the lefty, was the shooter. Chicago kid, naturally. All right, boys. It's after 8:05. I told you I wouldn't keep you that long. Thanks for making time. I know you're sick of seeing me.
No, not
that's
at all.
Geoff
Never.
Schwartz,
Not at all.
Chris Fallica, Will Hill. Bear, why don't you drop the less you bet? Why don't you do that and then let everybody go?
Make sure, especially with the bartender. Remember, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win.
All right, gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Thank you. That's Geoff Schwartz,
Bye,
Will
guys.
Hill, and Chris Fallica. You got to check out the gambling group chat, part of the Bear Bets podcast. That's about a wrap here. As I mentioned, the bartender is on the Chargers -2.5, and I'm waiting for a bigger number on Clemson. I do like Ohio State with the Bear. I'd love 7. If I have to lay 7.5, I guess I will. But I do have Notre Dame and Ohio State and a money line parlay as well, and also have Notre Dame at 10-1 to win the whole thing. I don't feel great about it. Bet a good number, and we shall see. If they could beat Indiana and beat Georgia, be in a really good spot. So that about does it. Per usual, cash some tickets, make some money, and we will talk to you next time as we roll through NFL Week 16. The regular season is almost over, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get some underdogs to come through. We'll catch you next time.